Welcome to another episode of Chat GRC on the Blue-Lusional podcast, where we interview a grassroots candidate every single week. This week, we have an East Coaster nemesis over here. So we finally hit the East Coast. Sir, introduce yourself and what you're running for.
Thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Dylan Hewitt. I'm a seventh generation upstate New Yorker, born and raised in South Glens Falls, and I'm running for Congress in New York 21 to replace Elise Stefanik.
Oh, she's
gone. She's not running for re-election. She sure as hell is not running for governor of New York. She's out of here. We have a chance to replace her with a progressive populist that can win this district.
Let's go. Come on. This is easy.
Love it.
We're making New York great again. Let's go.
The assignment's easy, and I will tell you that I was born and raised in Massachusetts, but your district in New York has a very, very, very special place in my heart. It is where I experienced some of my most favorite family memories, moments in my life. Every single summer for half of my life, we went to Lake Placid Village, ice skaters, so we were there every single summer, and we would drive there from Massachusetts to Lake Placid, through Vermont, on the ferry boat, all the way through the Adirondacks. It is one of the most beautiful, just breathtaking. My God, you don't even realize it. You think of New York, you think New York City, you don't think of the Adirondacks and just how gorgeous, beautiful. The people are amazing. The small business there is amazing. It's one of my favorite places to go, and I can't wait to hopefully go back one day. So it has a very special place in my heart. And so I want to know what inspired you, as somebody who is very decorated and has worked in politics, to run yourself.
This is not the moment to turn away. And I've lived here nearly my whole life. I went and served President Biden and Vice President Harris as a White House trade official in 2024. I've worked my entire career around what it means to take money out of politics and put it back into people's pockets, to hold big corporations accountable and strengthen our national security, break up those big monopolies that keep driving up our costs. And at this moment where Elise was first going to be UN ambassador and that didn't go her way, and then she was going to be New York governor and that didn't go her way, this is a critical moment for our democracy and our economy. And I looked at what is happening across this country, and I was reminded about why I was able to serve at the White House, why I was able to have that fair shot at success. And it all comes back to my grandpa Tom. And during the Great Depression, my grandpa Tom grew up really poor in a small town, just a town over from mine called Hudson Falls. And his mom had 3 boys and she couldn't afford to raise them. And he was taken in by his Aunt Lillian, but he only got by because the neighbors down the street from him fed him through their back window. And it's actually how he met my grandmother, because my grandmother was their daughter. And he went off to World War II, and he came back to a country that took care of its own. He got a good education on the GI Bill. He got a pathway to home ownership. He got a strong union middle-class salary as a public school teacher in Hadley, Luzerne for 40 years. And he taught my sisters and me that you give that fair shot to someone else, that we got to where we were because someone gave us that shot. And right now, our generation, I'm 33, part of a new generation of leadership. Our generation has lived through 2 forever wars, 2 recessions, economic crises, a pandemic, a Trump administration version 1, and now version 2. And this is the moment to take it head on, to not turn away. And I hear all across New York 21, a district that voted twice for Barack Obama, that was held by Democrats before, Elise can be held by Democrats again, that this is the moment to send a fighter to Washington, someone who will show up for us, someone who will fight for us against corporations and billionaires, and deliver the promise that my grandfather knew, is that you bring your people with you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
No notes.
Yeah,
This is absolutely perfect.
Yeah. All right. So since you've worked in the White House, you've been, some things.
He was allowed
So please
in.
educate the
He was
people.
allowed inside the White House.
He's been there. Please let the people know, what does a congressperson do, and how would you be able to use influence on the local level? Because people don't know. They just don't.
what does a Congress member do right now is jack shit.
Like yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I guess, sorry, I should have asked
No,
earlier.
you're good.
But, but right, like all you do right now as a congressman is like cozy up to billionaires and big donors and big corporations, and you do jack shit. And so what should a Congress member is make your life better? Like, I think that's such an, like, I don't think it's like a novel concept to say, go to Congress and like make people's life better. And yet here we have Elise Stefanik, who has held our district for 10, 11 years at this point. She hasn't held a town hall in 6 of them. So her last town hall in our district was October 11th, 2019. Like, where you been at? Like, where you at?
The COVID.
He literally came back to give a farewell tour, which didn't turn out to be a farewell tour. And so what have you been doing? And the answer is that at every single opportunity, she has shown up for a photo op and a fundraiser. And I am the only candidate, Democrat or Republican, in this race to refuse corporate and APAC money, because corporate power and corporate money in our politics has eroded our institutions, have eroded the public's trust in our elected officials. It determines who gets chosen to run in a special election. It determines who gets to run at all, who gets elected, what gets passed. And then on the flip side, how we learn about it. Think about that. Even if a bill gets through Congress, gets through the hurdles of big corporations and billionaire donors' interests, on the flip side, you have just a handful of folks who determine how you learn about it, whether it's Nexstar and Sinclair on local news channels, or you've got the Ellison family now investing in TikTok, and Elon Musk over on Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg, the algorithms, who they are property of. And we are fed a manufactured version of what that is for us to believe that our representatives do one thing when they do jack shit. So I'm running for Congress because I believe that your life should be better. I believe that Congress should give you a life of dignity and the freedom to thrive. That is not novel to me. Your full-time job should pay enough to raise your family. We should have Medicare for all so that you don't check your bank account before you walk into a doctor's office. We should set up our kids with universal childcare and strong public schools so they have that fair shot at success. And we should break up those big monopolies that are the reason our costs keep growing up. Groceries, utilities, healthcare, you name it. They are the ones who have such big power in such few hands. And I'm running for Congress to change that. I'm running to not play nice with a corrupt system. I'm running to take it on and win.
Mm-hmm. Again, perfect.
I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now.
Yeah, it's and you know what? There are the only good part, I believe, about the age of social media and the age of cell phones and everything being live is that even though they try to suppress, we have learned a lot through the power of social media. And this past year is where we learned that everyone's corrupt in politics. Doesn't matter what side you're on. We literally watched and held strong for a whole month on a government shutdown, only for them to fold to airline companies because corporate PAC money, things that were like are right in our face that we're seeing them elect or vote in cabinet members. And we're like, what? You guys shouldn't be voting on anything under a corrupt regime, but they do it. And, we've just seen it unfold. Yep. But to your point, it goes deeper. It goes to every single level. It trickles down. And until we say no more, until we say, you guys are done, it's corrupt. And now it's like the one kid that gets in trouble in class. We're like, you're all done now. You're all in timeout. And the only people that we should be voting in are people who have no part of it, because we have to get in there and fix it. So many grassroots candidates are like, we actually want to pass legislation that you can't take this kind of corporate PAC money because it should be illegal. It just should be.
One would think.
And pay to play politics. I don't think, this is a part of an entire package I think we need to pass. I used to work for Senator Warren and was part of the team that helped to unveil that anti-corruption ethics reform speech that she gave in a massive sea of people in Washington Square Park in New York City. We need to ban congressional stock trading for the president, the vice president, Congress members, and their spouses and families. We need ethics reforms that are put in place for those who are sitting in Congress and those who are running for it. term limits we need to pass for Congress, term limits for the Supreme Court. We need to have binding ethics rules for the Supreme Court so we don't find out afterwards that you had a justice just partying on a yacht with someone who has business in front of the court. The
Or in
corruption
the Epstein
is,
files.
yeah, well, and that too. I'm really proud that I am endorsed by Congressman Ro Khanna, the person, to team up with Thomas Massie to push the Epstein files and their release. But the DOJ has released 1% of the Epstein files. They have missed multiple legal deadlines to release these. They are the Republican Party under Donald Trump, emboldened by Elise Stefanik, is protecting pedophiles, point blank.
Yep.
And so this is the rot of our politics. This is the rot of our democracy. And this is the moment to choose. Will we protect it? Will we strengthen it and serve people? Or will we choose the side of billionaires and let it run away?
Yeah. The choice
We
is
don't
ours.
want the billionaires.
And the choice is ours. The choice is ours.
Yeah.
It's ours.
That's why we
Doesn't
do
matter what
say
anyone
things
else
like
says.
we can vote our way out of this. We can vote our way out of this, but will we vote our way out of this? And that's why Devin and I do what we do and bring people like you on, because there is a path out of this, and there are people that want to do this for the right reasons. It shouldn't be for a paycheck. It shouldn't be for fame and fortune and, your upgraded first class seats on the airline that donates to you. It should be about your constituents. It should be about the future of our country, and it should be about saving the Constitution and democracy in this country. This country was founded on, so that should be the forefront of it. And one of the most important questions we're asking every single candidate that comes in is how this administration has affected your district. States are big, and a lot of the times we're only hearing about New York City, to be honest. We're not really hearing about any other parts of New York, and people need to know how this administration is affecting every single state and every single district. So give us a rundown of some of the worst effects of this administration you're in.
How much time you got? I want to start by saying this because you talked a little bit about the beauty of upstate New York and the Adirondacks in our district. Our district is where the first American victory in the Revolutionary War took place, at the fort in Ticonderoga. Our district is where the tides turned in the American Revolution on the battlefields of Saratoga. Our district is where ordinary people organized to say one extraordinary thing, which is no kings, period. So that is where the idea of freedom has been victorious, right here in New York 21. We are 15 counties large. My family has lived across this district for nearly 200 years. I'm 33. I've lived here for nearly 30 of those. And every time I crisscross this district, I'm hearing the same things from folks. We can't afford groceries. We can't afford healthcare. We can't afford our utility bills. And I want to talk a couple of reasons why. First, tariffs at the northern border. We are a border district. We are a border district at the Canadian border with one of the top 5 ports of entry in America. We have been one of the first districts under the Trump administration to be dealing with the threat of tariffs. You rewind the clock before Liberation Day, back into January and February of last year, Donald Trump was focused first on Canadian tariffs. That hit us first, hit our farmers, our small businesses, our families first and hardest. And so every time I go around this district, I'm hearing from folks say, we can't afford the price of groceries. We can't afford to make our ends meet at our small businesses, because so many folks here, if you're a business, you rely on raw materials from Canada, lumber, aluminum. You might go across the border, buy your groceries. You're getting hit over and over again with added costs because of Donald Trump. You have soybean farmers in our district, cattle ranchers, dairy farmers, agricultural producers that are being retaliated against because of these tariffs. And, I've worked on tariffs. I've worked on trade deals and tariffs for President Biden and Vice President Harris. So first and foremost, I'm not blanket statement anti-tariff. I find them to be a tool that the government should use to invest in America, to protect American workers and American industries. But when you take a tariff so reckless, we are treating it like a sledgehammer. We're treating it as going out into the street and whacking our neighbors over the head, or smashing a window or smashing a car with it, doing damage. When really we should be using this as buying a few 2x4s, bringing them home and building a fence around our garden, something we've invested in, something we love and we want to protect. And so that's the first thing that we're dealing with, is that we cannot keep up with the cost of living here. Groceries for small businesses, for farmers, for families, it is hitting us hard. The second thing I want to say is that we also are dealing with the power of big monopolies. We have one utility provider, National Grid. The other day, I heard someone call them national greed, and I couldn't agree more, because we have one utility provider and they have failed to modernize our grid while keep jacking up our costs. And so where you have folks across upstate New York into the North Country, some of the most rural parts of New York, can't have the infrastructure for electricity currently where they were supposed to be modernized to bring that power into our communities. They still rely on petroleum or gas. You have someone jacking up their costs and they can't shop around during the winter months. It's going to be supposedly -20 up here over the weekend. You have one choice and you got to do it.
Yep.
You have farmers here who are on one-sided unfair contracts with meat producers across our country, where there are 4 meat producers that control 85% of the market. They determine the prices of groceries on our shelves. And then you got folks like the behemoths in the healthcare industry, United Healthcare, who insures 1 in 3 Americans. They own hospitals. They own doctors' offices. They scoop up across the landscape in healthcare. They own every single point that we pay at: pharmacies, hospitals, doctors' offices, you name it, they control it. They determine what we pay. So I'm running to break these big monopolies up because Congress has tools on the book to use to immediately lower costs. They just don't have the courage. And then the third thing I just want to say is that, 5 of our hospitals in New York 21, because of Medicaid cuts, 5 of our hospitals are now on the brink of closure. Our doctors here say it will result in a 2-hour stretch of a medical desert, a 114-mile stretch of no care. During the winter months, Casey, this, driving to Lake Placid. During the winter months, you're hitting dead zones of cell service. You're hitting icy roads, blizzards, moose and deer territory. And now we are expected to drive ourselves 2 hours in a medical emergency. Those Medicaid cuts, they're paying for tax cuts for billionaires and to fund secret police to go into our communities. We have ICE in our communities proposing and pushing forward a new detention facility in Plattsburgh. We have sheriff departments entering MOUs with ICE. And all of this is funded by defunding our healthcare, taking away our hospitals. All for what? To jack up costs, to take away our quality of life, our freedoms, and to put police onto our streets to terrorize our families and our children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have to start calling it like
bad.
it is.
It's
That's
all
what
bad.
it is. That's a point blank period. That's what it is.
It's all bad. Keep saying it's all bad. So
Yep,
that
it
is why we need to get people who actually give a shit, who are going to break up these big monopolies and get right to work on day one. Okay. So I did want to ask, can you talk about your time being a White House trade official? Like, what does that entail? And like, how is that going to help going forward when you get in?
So when I was at the White House, I was part of a team that actually finalized tariffs against China around protecting chips investments in advanced manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, electric vehicles. Take a step back. The last week or so in the news has been that we have used tariffs to not only just take a sledgehammer to our own economy, but we've also taken a sledgehammer to our diplomatic relations. And so now take a district like ours where we're getting, we're seeing the effects of tariffs here at home for farmers and small businesses and our families first and hardest. We also have loved ones and neighbors who are right across the border. And so all of a sudden, you got Canadians who don't want to deal with us. We have pushed our Canadian neighbors and our allies to the brink. They've entered a new relationship with China, and they've taken away the tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. And China has, in exchange, lowered the rate on agricultural products for Canada. Casey, Lake Placid is a great example. Also Lake George, where it's closer to where I grew up. My first job ever was at a pirate-themed mini golf course during the summers because and I love it. It's a great little tidbit about me, but I say it because our our economies here are seasonal. They are local and they're seasonal, and they rely heavily on tourism during the summer months and then the ski season. And we have had many different towns tell folks and report the lowest sales tax revenue on record, or some of it, some of the lowest, because our tourism is plummeting. Folks don't want to come here. They don't want to do business with us. They do not want to engage when you have someone like Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress selling us out, using tariffs to absolutely destroy our diplomatic relations. So, I was part of a team that finalized tariffs at the northern border. Where was I? So I was part of a team that helped finalize tariffs against China, specifically to protect those investments. And what we're seeing is that China is amping up its aggression when it comes to data, when it comes to cyber transfers, when it comes to intellectual property. And that was a really big concern about what it meant to invest in American-made chips and really kind of slow roll Chinese dominance in that market to elbow them out, protect our investments, and get American production amped up. The second thing is that we were part of a team where we opened markets for dairy producers and meat producers, dairy farmers, cattle ranchers, giving them fair markets across the country, across the globe to ensure to be able to sell their products. Another part of my time in and out of the Biden administration was being able to advise and assist Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, on different diplomatic missions. I held the top secret clearance. I've been with her to the North Korean border at the DMC. At the very start, I was on a trip to Romania. I've been to France with her. If you recall, when we had the France-Australia snafu, she was sent to Paris to amend our diplomatic relationship with Macron and the French government. I've been to Africa with her, another mission focused on the economic development of globally to strengthen our national security by targeting our foreign adversaries in global markets. And so, I'm really proud of my time because it's been focused about one thing. How do we strengthen our economic security here at home while also strengthening our national security? And that, to me, has always been about taking on big corporations globally, multinational corporations who know how to play the game, using the tools of our government, every lever of our government, whether it's trade rules, tariffs, trade deals. How do we functionally break them up to be able to give our small businesses and our family farms more competition, fair competition, and then also give our families that fair shot at success.
You were like, buddy,
No, it's yeah, right? Kind of jealous.
No.
Kind of jealous. Would like to travel with MVP, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would have that on everything.
Yeah, I would pull it out in casual conversation, unprovoked.
Well, and I do.
I'll
tell. I don't casually pull it out, but I didn't mean to. But I'm going to tell you when I do pull it out is that in this race, my Democratic opponent in this primary will not say who he voted for in 2024. So a lot of folks ask us what differentiates you, and Blake Gendabine refuses to say who he voted for president in 2024. And I say the first and foremost, I'm going to tell you who I voted for. I'm asking for your vote. I'm going to tell you who I voted for. And I didn't just vote for Kamala Harris. I worked for her. And I believe that we can create a better America. Did I agree with her 100%? No. But, right now, we have a question in front of us. And that question in 2026 is, will you side with a corrupt pay-to-play politics that favors big monopolies and billionaire donors, or will you fight for working people? And if you can't answer the basic questions about who you voted for in 2024, I don't think you can answer that question either.
Can't.
Crazy work.
That's absolutely
crazy work.
I've literally never heard of a candidate running that won't say who they voted for. So that speaks volumes, everyone.
It's an answer.
That is an answer. It is. And the answer you want. So it's insane. But we have obviously, here on this channel, we're all about activism. We're all about getting involved, making sure that our communities are taken care of, because we have to take care of each other at this point.
Yeah.
So we want to know if somebody like you who's online, you're on social media, your boots on the ground in your districts, if you win, you're going to DC. So, how would you work with maybe some local activists in your area on a day-to-day basis to kind of understand what issues are going on in your district and kind of still be connected when you're not physically there?
Yeah. I've worked on the inside and I've worked on the outside too. So I've served as a senior advisor to a economic nonprofit that has organized and agitated and advocated for years around issues like the child tax credit, putting money back into people's pockets that lowered child poverty in our country, but also multiple nonpartisan studies have showed for every $1 that we invest in kids, $10 goes back into our communities. It's a 900% return on investment. I've worked with economic nonprofits, with child advocates, with anti-poverty advocates, with faith leaders, with business leaders, you name it, to push Congress to put the expanded child tax credit back in place when every Republican voted against it when it was expanded during the Biden-Harris administration. I've worked with um, responsible AI advocates to pass what is known as the RAISE Act here in New York, one of the first in the country to put
Yep.
guardrails, safety guardrails in place for AI, to build coalitions to fight in Albany to get that passed here in New York. So I understand the beauty of organizing on the outside because I think that it goes hand in hand with fighting on the inside. And I'm really proud that for the first time, I think in my life, that I've seen sustained energy and momentum here in the North Country across New York 21 of organizers coming out of the second Trump term to say that we need to end the corruption that has defined Washington for too long. There are indivisible chapters that are popping up every day. I'm going to go to a kickoff event tomorrow night for one up here in St. Lawrence County. There's folks out on the corner in Glens Falls, where I'm from, every Saturday from 11 to 1 p.m. Things that I've never seen in my life. There is a group called Show Up that is just organically formed coming out of the 2024 election of women across the North Country who decided to quite literally show up and start organizing. So I'm really excited by what I see as the promise of opportunity here in the North Country. I think that we really have a moment for us to build the support. One of the things that I think I'm seeing right now is just how beautiful that is to keep a watch of what's happening when it comes to ICE in our communities. Over in Plattsburgh, we have the DHS proposing a new detention facility funded by our Medicaid and healthcare cuts to put a new detention facility when 5 of our hospitals are closing. We have MOUs, agreements with Sheriff's Department and ICE happening. We have vans, unmarked vans, vehicles raiding our small businesses, our diners, our farms. This is a really clear contrast in this race, this primary, because I have been the only candidate in this race to oppose the detention facility, to oppose the MOU agreement with our Sheriff's Department here in St. Lawrence. And I have been first and foremost calling for Kristi Noem's impeachment. I have been the only candidate in this Democratic primary to oppose new ICE hires because they're getting $50,000 signing bonuses when we keep being told there's not enough money for healthcare. There's not enough money to give our teachers a raise. Blake Gendabine is hosting events saying that ICE is his friends and that we need to hire more of them. The difference couldn't be clearer here.
No,
And so,
we don't.
this is a moment for us to choose who we want to be. And will we fight? Will we fight with a backbone? I'm really sick of the strongly worded letters. And I'm like, ask me earlier, what can a congressman do? This is what a congressman should do. They should go to Washington and they should fight to make your life.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right, should be
Period.
yeah, and it's such a great opportunity that I think a lot of grassroots candidates are diving into, which is working hand in hand with local
Yeah.
activist groups, because that's another corruption you don't see, is that a lot of these big corporate PAC politicians have never even spoken to local activist groups in their district, and that is a lifeline. That's a free lifeline to directly to your district and what they need, and so many people should work with them.
I agree.
I mean, it's a brainer.
I think one of the biggest questions right now in front of us is also about the future of healthcare. And you mentioned the shutdown earlier, where Democrats had the strongest leverage we've had in this administration thus far, and then 8 of them caved in the Senate. And activists across this country and in New York were responsible for getting the Democratic Party unified to start that shutdown. Like the Democrats didn't wake up one day and say, we're going to shut down the government in the name of the Affordable Care Act. It's because they heard from people saying it's life or death for me. And I want to be real for a sec. I've heard that too. My own healthcare costs are going up $800 a month. And I have heard over and over again across this district that healthcare is so personal to folks that they wished that Senate Democrats didn't cave. I mean, the only candidate in this race that is calling for Medicare for all. And my opponent, Blake Gendevine, when Democrats held the line and then the shutdown, he said that fighting for healthcare was playing games. He has said publicly that Democrats lost. Democrats lost in 2024. And so instead of doing anything on healthcare, we should make the change at the ballot box in 2026. I got an email after he said that. I got an email from him.
Okay.
And Tim said to me, he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to be around for our election because without healthcare, he was pretty sure he wasn't going to be able to survive. I met a young worker in Glens Falls. Her name was Annie. And she told me back in December that her husband and she just decided to go uninsured for the next year because they were too scared to even look at the new price on the marketplace. I've met so many folks across this district who have said it is life or death. And that is why I am fighting with a spine. No more strongly worded letters. If you have a lever of government in front of you, use it.
Plain and simple.
You pretty much answered the first half of my next question, but what are your top three priorities going to be when you get elected?
If you can't tell already, I am also a policy walk. I'm trying to make nerdy sexy on the campaign trail. Let me know. Let me know in the comments if I'm succeeding. No, I'm kidding.
He's got it.
There are laws on the books that Congress needs to just have the courage to. Laws and rules that date back to 1929 that would immediately help break up big monopolies and lower costs, whether it's groceries, healthcare, utilities, you name it. We just need the courage. So my first priority is have the courage. That is what you need to send someone to go do, to lower the cost of living and to make your life better. Again, I just don't think that's that crazy of an idea. You should have a life of dignity and you should have the freedom to thrive. Yeah. Second of all, Medicare for all. I grew up in a really small town called South Glens Falls. And for the last 50 years, we have had a community tradition called the South High Marathon Dance. It's a community fundraiser for 50 years that has raised millions of dollars for families to afford their health care. And when I was 17, I ran it. And I'll never forget calling my third grade teacher and her family up to tell them we would pay for their 9-month-old granddaughter's surgery. And that really just at 17 kind of taught me that everyone deserves to be able to go get the surgery or the prescription or whatever it is to survive. And it's why I fought my entire life to make that a reality. And I know that it's not going to happen overnight. Step one is to, extend the ACA subsidies and figure out how we get big conglomerates out of owning hospitals or doctors' offices and get those pharmaceutical benefit managers and the corruption and pocketing the benefits and jacking up our drug costs, get all of that sorted out so that we can get to our folks dental and vision and Medicare for all. That's a huge priority for me. And then, I think about the future the future of our country and just really the future that we deserve, or the future we're building, and what that looks like for people like my niece B or my nephew Benji and my nephew Leo and Teddy. What are we borrowing from them? And will we build a country where they can graduate from high school and they have the skills to start a business or go to trade school or go to college, whatever they want? Will they have homes that they can go buy and live in? Will, when they start a family, be able to afford enough to give their children childcare? Will they have a planet to live in? What it means to give them a life of dignity. And it's why I'm running for Congress. It's why I believe we set them up for a fair shot to give them that breathing room, to keep afloat, to build their own life on their own terms. And so that's a huge priority for me too. What that looks like, what that world looks like, where we end forever wars and we bring that money back home and we invest in our people. That's huge for me.
See, it's absolutely insane that every candidate we have on here, that when we say, what are your top 3 priorities, that they're like universal health care. Like that
Yeah.
should just be a given, you would think, but everyone it has to be a top priority because it's not a thing.
It
Because
isn't,
everyone
and
is dying.
well, and so I've been told a lot that, oh, Elise Stefanik was your representative for 10 years. Best of luck. Like, no one's ever going to look at this district from written off, right? Like this idea that New York 21 is too red, too rural, like not worth it. And I got to be real, like everywhere I go, people want healthcare. Like no matter who they voted for, like no matter what party they affiliate themselves with, like they say to me, healthcare cuts are deeply personal. I had back in the fall, I met these 2 women. They were sisters. I was up in Franklin County and they said, we voted for Elise every time. One of them said, but my son is severely disabled and he relies on Medicaid and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I will never vote for her again. And now 5 of our hospitals are on the brink of closure, a 2-hour drive just to see the doctor. And I hear it over and over again. And so, usually how I start a conversation on the campaign trail is to ask someone, obviously their name, but then I ask them, what is important to you right now? And I would say 8, 9 out of 10 times it's healthcare. And I always listen to them to figure out, like, what are you saying is part of that story for you? And I always ask, like, if you could fix it, what would you do? And almost always, no matter what, people say to me, Medicare for all. And so that is why, like people recognize that big monopolies in the healthcare industry have just taken over our system of care, have scooped up hospitals, have cut staff and quality of care has gone down, have jacked up costs. They recognize it. They recognize that at its core is a question about corporate power and rich, greedy CEOs in the healthcare industry that keep asking us to pay more for less. And they want to do something about it. And they realize that the solution is Medicare for all, even in a rural red district that's been represented by Elise Stefanik for 10 years. They realize it. And they want and they deserve an elected official who will go to Washington with a spine and fight for it.
What a concept.
What a concept, right? Making your life better. What a concept.
Whoa. We're getting crazy.
In order for that to happen, this leads perfectly into the next question, because in order for all of this to happen, people have to go out and they have to vote in primaries and midterms, and voting is so important. But people are feeling a very big loss since the 2024 election. They're uncovering corruption. They don't think voting matters. We're not going to vote our way out of this. And so we ask every single candidate who comes on here, if somebody approached you in your district and said, I don't know if I'm going to vote though, because it's just, I'm kind of checked out. I don't believe in it anymore. What would you say to them to get them to vote?
I get it. I get it. I get it. We have lived through 2 forever wars, 2 economic crises, a pandemic. And you want to know who's always come out better on the other side? Billionaires and big corporations. So I get it. But right now, we have a question in front of us, which is, will we side with those billionaires and big corporations, or will we side with each other? I'm choosing to side with you. I'm choosing to side with my teachers, my neighbors, the policemen and the firefighters, the sanitation workers, the union pipe fitters, the nurses, every single person, and not the people who have sold us out over. And so I'm asking you to join me in that fight. The fight is not among us, it is among them and the cynical politics who have asked us and forced us to settle for less and us. And so I get it. And part of this for me has been like this 2026 conversation around Democrats need their own Tea Party, right? Like this idea where Democrats need, like
Guilty.
this, like as need, whatever Republicans had back in 2012. I think we need something a little more honest than the Tea Party. And what I say is that Democrats need to be a guarantee party. We need to guarantee that your job pays enough to raise your family. We need to guarantee yourself health care. We need to guarantee safe, strong homes, public schools. I've spent a lot of time thinking about economic policies that give families security and safety, stability. And so I used to talk about it as a floor, like we need to build that floor, and I'm not in the business of building ceilings. I'm actually, this year, I've started to realize that a floor is not enough. We need to build a trampoline. We need to build the idea that like when you fall down, you get sprung right back up. That you have the ability to raise your family and go to a doctor and not just go bankrupt because you deserve a life of dignity. And so instead of like this Democratic Party that says like, here's a basic quality of life, how about we have a Democratic Party that guarantees that when you falter, we're there to lift you back up.
Social safety nets. Everyone keeps saying they want it. You have to vote in the person that's going to give it to you. What a concept.
Yeah. Two-thirds of families, think about this, 2/3 of families in New York 21. Go to childcaregap.org. The University of Nebraska, the Bipartisan Policy Center has put out data about our district. 2/3, 63% of New York 21 cannot find childcare within a 10-mile radius. Around here, that's like a 20-minute drive. Okay, so 2/3 of our families can't find the support and the resources to raise their kids. The alternative is that they take the hit and they leave the workforce. Because even if they could find it,
snowball effect.
Can they afford it? So again, I've worked on trade and I know a thing or two about imports and exports. Our biggest export right now are young families. That's not a good export to have.
No.
They're leaving, right? So I think it's exactly as you just said, like it's snowball. If we can't afford childcare or, if we can't afford a home, how are we going to afford childcare? How are we going to afford groceries? How are we going to afford our utility bill?
Because you're going off one income if you have one stay home. And that doesn't help the economy. So it's just everything's connected. Like
it's why costs keep going up and those at the very top keep running away with more.
All right, come on, people.
Things political.
This guy's gonna get rid of the monopolies. Come on.
Let's go. Get with the program, everyone.
Come on. We don't have time. Come on, get your shit together. All right. So we have reached the fun portion.
Oh,
I know you're gonna have a good answer. Who would be your dream VP, living or dead?
If you were president.
Oh, if I was president.
Yeah. And build a cabinet too if you're feeling frisky.
Oh, I'm not feeling that.
I'm gonna need a couple things for that one.
I have a lot of respect for labor leaders across the country. And I think that something we're really missing in our politics right now is solidarity. And so I would love to see, and we are seeing part of it start, a resurgence of the labor unions across our country. But I'm a big fan of Sean Faines at the United Auto Workers.
Yes.
And I think the White House could do some good with a little Sean Fain.
Right?
Yeah. Some people that are behind the working class, not billionaires. Just a thought. Just a thought.
It's just a
I like that.
Of activists and labor workers. The whole time.
These people need living wages. That's all they're just going to be yelling at them.
Yes. A novel concept. Yeah. Yes.
gonna be like, I'm gonna take
Raise
care of
wages. Like, we need to raise the minimum wage. Like, that is another thing that, we haven't talked about yet, but like the idea that we haven't raised the minimum wage in God knows how long, and yet, you know, the wealthiest in America stop paying into Social Security after $180,000. Like, that's like 15 minutes for Elon Musk on January 1st every year. And yet,
Wild.
like, you have a working family who is burdened by the tax code and a stagnant minimum wage, where like we need to close the loopholes and make billionaires pay their fair share.
Yep.
It's so simple.
It is.
Just pay up.
It is really simple.
Just pay up.
Please. Oh my God.
For the love of
But-
God.
This might be the hardest question to answer.
Oh no.
And I'm excited for your answer because you're not a New York City boy. So, New Yorker, explain to everyone watching why New York pizza is the #1 pizza in the country.
I'll support whatever answer you give. East Coast
Whatever answer
supremacy.
you wanna give.
I have a good friend who is like, New Haven is the best pizza, and I'm really skeptical of that. So this one's for him.
Call him out.
Dude, you're right. I'm not from New York City. So, upstate pizza is not like what I think people think of. Like, jumbo slice.
See, I was like, oh, it's all
It's not the same.
all encompassing.
It's not the same. But I will say this. Okay, so in my hometown of Glens Falls, there's like kind of a pizza rivalry. And so you have one business that's called the Talk of the Town, and you have one business that's called the Harvest. People are like predominantly split as like you favor one over the other. I'm a Talk of the Town guy. My rest of my family is a Harvest people. So like we like have like a divided household. Like growing up, when you have like those like arguments with your like siblings about like where are we gonna get takeout, and mom and dad are like, make up your mind. Like that used to be like my two older sisters and me, where I'd be like I'm the younger brother, so I'm like gonna like agitate no matter what, which of course like has prepared me really well for Congress. But I was always like Talk of the Town, and my sisters were always like, no, like Harvest.
Shut up.
Always won, so like great. But no, so now I eat Talk of the Town, whatever. I say all this because Rachel Ray, the celebrity chef, she grew up in Lake George, which is a few towns over from mine, and she's a Harvest person, and so she actually has a pizza on Harvest's menu named after her. So maybe when I get to Congress, Talk of the Town will name pizza after me. But
that's the goal. That's the goal. Everything else,
you guys can pray. Please take me.
But I don't know. It's like to me, it's the perfect balance of like cheese sauce and thick. The crust is like pretty thin and like burnt a little bit, so it's like nice and crunchy.
I'm loving the detail breakdown. Carry on.
I do think about the fact that New York would rival itself in pizza. Like we're all
I don't know.
But that's such a New York thing.
Los Angeles, but it would be a New York thing for them to have internal rivalry.
So there are like a lot of things in upstate New York has really dishes that are like just like very niche. So you go west and you go out to Rochester, you've got the garbage plate.
Garbage plates.
Yeah, you've never heard of it? Love a garbage plate. Love a garbage plate. The thing about like upstate New York where I've lived and live, one of the, I don't know if it's unique dishes that I remember growing up with is like getting mozzarella sticks, but you dip them in what's called Melba sauce. And Melba sauce, MELBA, it's like a raspberry jam. And so like traditionally or like elsewhere since, whenever I traveled around, like you dip mozzarella sticks in like marinara sauce or something.
Mm-hmm.
Here, we dip them in like this like thick raspberry sauce. It's really good. If you've never tried it, definitely seek it out.
Okay.
I'm like a big fan of that.
I try it once, but I'm usually a purist. I'm a cheese guy.
No.
Well, that breaks down the internal rivalry on New York pizza.
I could talk about food all day, though. You know what I mean?
I'm with it.
Right. I know, but it's a big hit. New York City has to be #1, and we need to know why.
Yeah. So
I wanted a take from not a city boy.
You hear that, people from Chicago? It's not #1. Deep dish is
I can't.
Don't get me in trouble.
Something fun. Yeah.
I'm just poking the bear on promotion.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mhm.
All right. I think you might have just answered this next one too, though. So, what is your favorite hidden gem in New York when you win? Because where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go out
Come to the
to?
Adirondacks. I love that you
Mhm.
started this conversation off talking about the Adirondacks, and it feels really fitting to like bring it back full circle. I'll
Big
just say
throwback.
first, our district is more than the Adirondacks. It's also Mohawk Valley. It's 15 counties large, and so it's if not the largest east of the Mississippi, it's second largest. Like it's massive. And from every corner is about a 2-hour drive, and so that's why like a healthcare desert is so catastrophic because it's it's absolutely unconscionable to me to expect someone to drive 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just to see that. The reason I think that
Mhm.
the Adirondacks is so beautiful and so meaningful is because there's nothing like it. There's just absolutely nothing like it. The high peaks and the small towns and the local businesses and the preservation of land, communities that just like come together to like keep it what it is. And so like one of the things that we like to joke about on this campaign is that we're for state parks, not oligarchs. And like that is real. Like I
Yes.
am all in
Nice.
for the Adirondacks and not billionaires. So like I'm gonna keep
Nice.
saying it over and over again. State parks, not oligarchs. And like that is how we run this campaign. And so, you know, for me in Congress, it is a huge responsibility that I do not take lightly to think about how we safeguard and we protect the Adirondack. And first and foremost, you know, the Environmental Protection Agency under Lee Zeldin has reversed a ban on forever chemicals, on PFAS. You know,
Mm.
I like don't understand why, first of all. Like that seems wild, right? Like
Mhm.
instead of like holding corporate polluters accountable, we're gonna like let them run rampant and just like poison
It's the worst
our
that could
soil
happen.
and our water and our air. It's something that like we deal with here all the time. You know, in my hometown in South Glens Falls, we dealt with a business that was trying to come in with PFAS and forever chemicals in our soil. We organized in 2022 to get that contract to be denied. You know, talk about Republican cronyism. It was a longtime Republican town supervisor who handed that contract over just because it was a buddy of his. And Republicans and independents and Democrats united to say, whoa, this is about our well-being, and like we're not going to let it
Yeah.
happen. You know, my whole life, essentially my entire life, the Hudson River that stretches all the way up and down upstate New York has been dredged up because of pollution and PCBs and forever chemicals that have been in the water. Forever chemicals are up in Plattsburgh in the northeast corner, they're over in St. Lawrence in the northwest. It's everywhere. And so I think first and foremost, like the hidden gem is the Adirondacks. And it goes back to our conversation earlier. Is like, what are you doing to protect it? What are you doing to safeguard the future we're borrowing from people like my niece B and my nephews Leo and Benji and Teddy?
Yep.
Like that to me is number one.
Mhm.
And it's also like you got to take on National Grid, who's jacking up the utility costs here. You've got to make sure we preserve the land and the wildlife refuge, that we have to give our kids and our families clean air and clean water and clean soil. Like that is, I think, at its core, the question of like, will we protect it? Will we do our duty or will we let corporate polluters get away with it? And I'm going to Congress because I think that corporate polluters shouldn't. Like, I think that you should be able to go hunt our game and fish our lakes
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
hike our peaks and have a decent, dignified quality of life and not worry about corporate poison. And if they do poison it, then they should be held accountable for every single thing that they have committed and pay to clean it up and rectify the situation.
Mhm.
But Lee Zeldin at the EPA says, nah, we're good. Come on in. So it's not so hidden when you look at a map, right? Like it's a big old chunk of New York 21.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do think something that's hidden about our district is how special it is to everyone who's here and how hard we will work.
Yes.
Love it.
I that's perfect with, and it lines up as somebody who, yes, went there every single year on the dot, every summer. Every time we went, it looked, if not more beautiful. Like there wasn't one time where we went and we were like, ooh, it's been a bad year for the Adirondacks. It's not looking too good. No, I mean breathtaking. I mean literally at one point you could be driving on the side of a mountain, which a little scary, but very beautiful. You could
Yeah.
be up really high and then just you shoot down and you're in a tiny little town. You're in a tiny little town and then you go back up into the mountains, into another one. It's absolutely insane, but just so gorgeous. That's why we didn't fly, because it was just a really gorgeous drive to do. And I definitely think that it is one of my top destinations if you're looking for like the beauty of the world.
No, and tomorrow we have a hearing in Messina about a proposed expansion of a data center. Like we haven't even gotten into AI and data centers yet. And so I just bring that up because, in my primary, my opponent, Blake Gendevine, has used AI in his political ads to depict Elise Stefanik doing and saying things she's never done. And I just think, I've talked about utility monopolies like National Grid, like data centers are just as at fault as the other guys, right? Like we
They're the
need to make
worst.
sure if we're protecting the North Country, protecting the Adirondacks, we can't be letting these data centers just build and build and build by
Everywhere.
sucking away our water and our energy and jacking up our costs, poisoning our soil and our air. Like we need real guardrails on this. And yet, once again, if you can't say who you didn't vote for, I'm not sure you can stand up to a data center. So that's what we're facing.
That
part.
That part.
Yeah.
That part. That's
No
still
notes.
absolutely insane that somebody's running as a Democrat and can't say who they're voting for. But like Devin said, that's an answer.
Or
That's
wants to have more race.
Yep.
Wow. Good luck.
Yep.
Luck.
Well,
He's gonna need it.
yeah, he is going to need it. And before we outro out, we want to give you a chance to kind of shameless plug your website, where people can donate, where people can volunteer. And if you have any in-person events coming up where people can come and meet you.
Yeah. So my website is dylanhewitt.com, DYLANHEWITT.com. And we are the only person in this race to refuse corporate and APAC money. And what that means is that I need your help. I need you to go to dylanhewitt.com and I need you to chip in 25, 50, whatever you can, because I'm the only person in this race without millions of dollars to my name on either side. I have a Republican opponent, Anthony Constantino, who is trying to self-fund his campaign with millions of his own money. Donald Trump wants his FTA administrator to pack up his bags and move into our district and run in a district that he's never lived in before. This is the fight we're up against. And so I'm asking you to go to dylanhewitt.com and join us. This is not the moment for big corporations or billionaires or APAC. It's your moment. It's our moment. And this is how we win, by building out a grassroots campaign from $5 to $10 to $50 to $100, whatever you can contribute. dylanhewitt.com. One of the most important things in New York, if you're a New York voter and you're listening to this, you have a deadline coming up on February 14th. And I want you to pay clear attention because it might not be for you, but it might be for a loved one or a friend or a neighbor. If you are an unaffiliated voter in New York, you have to declare a party by February 14th to vote in June's primary. So if you voted for Bernie Sanders, if you voted for Zephyr Teachout, who's endorsed me, if you voted for someone who is ready to break up the big monopolies and hold it to a corrupt establishment and make life better, and you decided you didn't want to be part of a party yet in New York, but you want to vote for me in June's primary, you have to change your registration by February 14th. You can change it afterwards, after the election. But if you want to vote in the Democratic primary on June 23rd, 2026, you have to change it by February 14th. And then after February 14th, get involved. Get involved because we have to get on the ballot in New York. And so we have to collect signatures and we will go door to door and you'll be part of our movement to hold a petition and go out and tell people why we should send a fighter to DC, someone with a backbone, someone who's 33 and a new generation of leadership, someone who's unafraid and unbossed and unbought. But you have to be a Democrat to be able to do that. So join us, go to dylanhewitt.com, sign up to volunteer, sign up to host a house party, sign up to come and donate, be a part of this. But I can't do it without you.
We want the change. We got to help to get that change.
Yep, that's
Period.
part of the process. That's part of what we're doing here. And, you know, anything helps, guys. I know you might think like, oh, I only have like $5. Any
It helps.
little bit
It helps. It really does.
Do
going to
it.
go back to you guys if you think about it. If you're in that district and you're donating money, it goes to his campaign to directly give back to you guys and make your lives better. So it's a
It's an investment.
full circle moment. And, we just want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. We know you're very busy. You're traveling, you're going across the
Mhm.
district 2 hours there on both sides. That's a lot of traveling. And so we, appreciate you coming and talking to us and going over policies and just telling us what you plan to do when you win, because that's how we talk over here. Everything is when, not if. And you just truly really do embody what it means to be a grassroots candidate. So
Yep.
again, we are always so excited to talk to candidates just like you. And District 21, you guys need Dylan. Yeah. Jesus Christ, you need
Badly.
badly.
Please. Don't make us yell at you.
Please. Yes. Please. You guys, the assignment open book test right here.
Please. Please.
So,
Please no more failing open book tests. Please.
mhm. Yes. So again, just thank you so much for coming. And we
Thank
hope
you.
that the next time we have you on, that you'll be in DC actively fighting for us and we can come and visit you and see all the great work that you're doing in person. That is the goal every time that we talk
Thank
to
you guys for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you could tell I love to talk about all things policy. So anytime,
We love it. Us too.
Yes. Yes. We might be hitting you up when these tariff things go crazy.
watching the news
Mhm.
every day. So don't you worry.
Yes. Right. All right. Well,
Thank you
thank
so
you guys
much.
for tuning in to our episode of Chat GRC. We are putting out new episodes every single Thursday, all the way through November. We are not stopping. We are booked up all the way through June at this point. So many people are running. We're so excited to talk to every single one. If your candidate has not been interviewed, you should send them to us so that they
Hit
can be
us
like
up.
Dylan and get on here and get a chance to talk. We just love that we're able to do this, and we will see you guys next Thursday. Thank you, Dylan. Have a great night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dylan.
Bye, guys.
All right. Don't close out yet.
Yes, don't close out yet. We're going to stop recording and then it'll upload for probably